Hi, I'm Judy Craig and I'm with Edina Realty and the Craig Group. And today I get to talk with you about working with buyers. And I've got Patty with me because Patty and I work together at the office. We're both licensed in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And we just want to talk about this market because it's a crazy market right now. We don't have enough listings on the market, and so buyers are actually having to fight over homes, which is crazy. And people have heard of these scenarios where there's multiple offers. So we want to just kind of go through what are some of the things that we can do to help you be prepared as a buyer in this market. So one of the first things that we do is talking with lenders. Do you want to talk about lenders?
Well, sure. When we're with our clients, we want to make sure that we're prepared to move when we find the right home. So we first meet with our clients. We give them some contacts for lenders for them to contact. And then we go through their criteria of what they're looking for. If they're looking for a Rambler style 2-story, number of bedrooms, and also their target area. We want to make sure that we have all the information we need to start a search and to get the process moving. But again, that first step is to get the lender involved and to get the pre-approval letter.
So one of the reasons why we really like to have the buyer meet with the lender first, there's a couple different stages to this, and luckily in the past I worked at a bank, so I kind of get the lingo with bankers, but you really need to have a handle on, some bankers will tell you, yep, you're approved for this large amount, and we know that a lot of people don't really want to spend that much. We want to get your comfort zone of what you're going to be paying for a house and what feels right for the mortgage. But the most important thing is when we're competing for a house, we need to have a lender that's going to give us that letter. It might be over the weekend. We might have to be able to call them and say, hey, I need a letter for these people so that we can show that they can perform on this offer on this house right now. Because it might make or break you getting the house that would be your dream house. Second step, when we're talking with buyers, we really like to find out exactly the things that they're looking for. And the searches that we set up on the computer are key. Do you want to talk about the searches that when we're setting up the parameters?
Sure. That's, again, we set up the search based on the criteria of what the client is looking for. Again, number one would be the target area. And
there can be multiple target areas.
Exactly. And what's nice is the search is through the MLS and it's all active listings. And as soon as a new home is on the market, that client gets an email instantly. And it's also nice, it keeps the client involved with all of the market.
Well, it keeps them really informed.
Right,
Yep.
Informed of what's going on in the market, correct, exactly.
And then if they give us a certain price parameter, like let's say that they say, we want to look from 400 to 500. If something was priced above that price point and didn't fit the parameters, but all of a sudden they do a price reduction and now it fits in their parameters, boom, it shows up in their email. And so that's awesome too, to stay on top of it.
Right, exactly. And then once we have that, we know we can schedule showings right away. And that's important in this market when things are moving so fast. And the nice part about being part of a team is that we have access. If someone wants to go, this evening, between you and myself and Chris, we can make that happen.
Absolutely.
So, and I think it's very important because that's something if it's
We're ready.
Exactly, right. And in the fast-moving market, we have to be ready.
Yes. And part of our discussions when we work with clients and they're setting out their parameters, we're trying to help them visualize what's happening maybe in the next 10 years of their life. It might be even the next 20 years because they'd rather not have to see us again, is my guess. So we really want to help them make a choice that's going to carry them through several chapters rather than having them call us again in 5 years and say, okay, now we've outgrown this house. Now that can't always happen. We can't always predict what's happening in the future and we might have to sell a home, but we're going to help them look through the decisions and think about what is going to fit their family for the next 10 years, this chapter, or maybe it's 20 years if they've got brand new babies and they want to carry them all the way through the school district. Or we're going to also point out things that might make it hard for us to sell this house in the future when we do have to sell it. Because really in the big picture, we want them to make smart decisions that are going to net them the most money in the end when they turn around and sell it again, and they're going to be able to turn it over well. So some of the stages that we go through is, we call it our core questions, and we're going to talk through what are the things that are important to you moving forward what are your parameters that you want for your family now and moving forward, and then talk about, well, how is this house going to sell when it's time to move on to the next chapter, which is kind of hard to envision. So, and then once we get buyers into the house, let's talk about the process. And once we get an offer on the table and we put it together, what are some of the things that we do that are different?
Well, once we have the offer and it's accepted, we then schedule an inspection.
Oh, yeah.
An inspection, and that's the other thing to have is a good inspector. And that's typically done within a few days after the offer is accepted. And we meet you at the inspection, the inspector's there as well, and it takes about 2 to 3 hours, and some people prefer not to be there, but we recommend that you are there.
Well, you learn a lot.
You learn a
about the
lot,
house.
exactly. An inspector will point out things that you may not know. So we think that's valuable for you to be there. And then after the inspection, we'll work with you on items that have come up. If there's something that needs addressing, we'll work with you on that, addressing that back to the sellers.
Well, and I think what people don't understand is during this whole representation process, because we're representing our buyers to get the best deal that they can have, there's negotiating that goes on when we're negotiating the purchase agreement, but there's also negotiating that happens when the inspection is done, because there might be some issues that come up, and they might be material fact issues that impact the livability of the home, but they might just be other things that, no, we really thought we were buying a deck that was intact, and we really don't. We want some kind of concession if the deck is falling off the house. So that there comes some negotiating then as well. But then we also have to make sure we get through the appraisal process. Now, the appraisal is going to be done by the lender that you choose to work with. They're going to send out an appraiser to make sure that the value is there for the home. And you never know, there might be, we always are preparing to anticipate things that might come up that you might not know about, and we always set the stage, like, okay, now this is the next step. So, and then once we get that appraisal done, then it's onward
to closing. So we're with you every step of the way, which I think is important. And
Absolutely.
That's a lot of times people think that they're just, we're only there in the very beginning, but every step of the way, from the inspection to the appraisal to closing, we're there with our clients.
So if you're thinking about buying a home, we would really love to help you start the search and get through the process and find the right home for your dream.